Hey everyone, Pratiti Pathak here. Welcome to Unpacking Brain Drama, where we talk about real life experiences, the challenges, and the obstacles. Sometimes we use them to block ourselves, sometimes we use them to grow and evolve. Here's what I want to say: obstacles are not the things blocking our path, obstacles are the path. So, in other words, we have to grow through what we go through. So, join me as we have some amazing conversations with some amazing guests. I am so happy to be here with you guys. It's been an exciting week, I have to say. Let me do the same thing I always do. Let me turn that off. I am super excited to be here with you guys today because I want to talk a little bit about how we sometimes expect our life to be neat and clean and organized. Let me turn this down, or let me see if I can refresh. Sorry, guys, be patient for one moment. I will even start over. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about our lives being a little messy. And sometimes we tend to think that our lives are not supposed to be messy. We think they're supposed to be neat and organized and kind of in a way that makes it easy for us to get through it on an everyday basis, right? I want to share a little bit about several different concepts here. I'm going to try to keep this a little simple, but I want to talk about transformation, right? Last week, I was talking about this retreat that I'm going to be doing at the end of April in Mexico. I'm super excited about that. And it is about uncovering all of the messiness of life in a way. And here's what I want to say. I don't think life is supposed to be neat and pretty all of the time. Not saying that it can never be or that it shouldn't ever be, but I don't think it can really be fulfilling and amazing if it were perfect, which of course it could never be perfect, right? So I think we try really hard sometimes to make our lives perfect, but it's not benefiting us to try to make our lives perfect. We have to, and I know I talk about this a lot, we have to grow through what we go through, right? We are always looking for transformation. And I was really thinking about this because I've been talking a lot about it with clients, especially on these different conversations of coming to the retreat or working together. It's a constant conversation that I'm always having. And something that's been coming up a lot lately is this thought about transformation and what it takes to have it and achieve it and get transformation. I asked the Googles, as I always do, and I wanted to see what is like the definition of transformation. And it says, transformation is a dramatic change in form or appearance, right? Or it's an extreme or a radical change. And I agree with that, though I want to go a little bit deeper into that and how I describe it to anyone who I'm talking to about transformation. Usually it's clients, but to me, transformation is a complete shift and a permanent shift in the way that you are thinking about something or how you show up in your life and in the world, right? So I'll use an example because I hear people having all different thoughts about this, but it is a permanent shift, a permanent shift. So I'll give you an example. A money example is really easy for me because it's my own example. So if I have a thought that, if I have a belief that I can't make a significant amount of money, or I will never be able to achieve a certain level of wealth, because I don't have formal education, I don't have a piece of paper from university that gave me permission to go out and make X amount of dollars in my business or in my career, right? Because if you go online and ask Google, how much does a doctor make? How much does a neurologist make? How much? It'll give you this guideline of what these different things make. So if you become that person in your mind, you've told yourself now that you believe you can make that kind of money because you have a piece of paper that says so. So if this is my way of thinking, in order for me to have transformation around my money beliefs, I have to shift my thinking around it permanently, meaning I have to literally get rid of the old thought and belief system. Basically, that has to die and end in order for a new thought and a new belief system to be reborn in my brain, right? So I'm going to use these kinds of words. But so in order for me to shift permanently, I would have to go from, I can't make a certain amount of money or grow a certain amount of wealth because I don't have formal education and a piece of paper from university that, gives me the permission to go make that kind of money. To shift that, I have to get rid of that in order to think I am smart, I am intelligent, I've gotten so much experience through working in certain industries, through learning, through books, and paying attention, observing. Like, I have created enough intelligence and wisdom and knowledge in a specific area of my life that I can provide value in the world and get paid for it and make as much money as I want. Do you see how there is no way I could think that thought if I held on to any part of the other belief system? So in order to achieve transformation, we have to permanently shift from the old thought that I can't make money unless blah, 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 to I can make as much money as I want because I have value to provide to the world, and whoever wants it will pay me for it, and I can make as much as I want. Clearly, I might have to learn other things like how to market myself or how to connect with people and build a community around that. So, but I would have, if I had any part of that other belief system, if I was like, I have so much to offer, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, though, I really don't have a certificate for this. So if I held on to any of that belief, it wouldn't be a permanent shift. And therefore, it couldn't, in my mind, be called transformation. That doesn't mean I have learned new things. I might be thinking a new way. I might be incorporating new things into my life that may be working better for me, but it isn't a complete transformation because it isn't a complete and permanent shift. So I was talking a lot about this recently, like I said, through these different things that I'm offering out there in the world, and something that kept coming up. And one of the things that kept coming up, I was talking to clients and potential clients and even friends about this. And they said, yeah, I get it. But, I do a lot of work on myself. I am constantly doing like work on myself. And sometimes, to be honest, it's overwhelming and it's exhausting. And I was thinking about that, and it can be exhausting if you think I'm constantly working on myself. And I want to point this out because I think this is the key factor to that. And I can completely relate, because in order for you to have complete transformation, you are the key factor is you have to change your own thoughts you have to change your own belief system to another belief system that is yours. This is going to be the crux of so much of what I'm going to talk about right here in this segment, because in order to change, you have to change your thoughts versus trying to just incorporate mine. And I see this a lot with my clients is they're like, yeah, I'm listening to everything you're saying, and they're consuming a lot of content, which feels exhausting, right? If you are spending a lot of time doing things, and this is what I hear them saying, they're like, yes, but I'm doing all my affirmations and I'm manifesting and I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to audiobooks, and I'm in the self-help file all the time. Like, I get doing all of those things, but affirmations, manifesting, listening and consuming to podcasts and audiobooks, and being a self-help junkie is not where the transformation and the shift takes place. Yes, it helps you think in a new way. It helps you start, incorporating new things into your life. And believe me, I was and still am in many ways a self-help junkie. I love it, right? I'm all about it. And the shift happens. I know you guys, if you've been following me, you know that a lot of my work is around taking a look at our rinse and repeat autopilot, unconscious thoughts that we have on a regular basis right now, in order to be able to see what emotions they bring out in us, and then from there, what is the action, inaction, or reaction that I'm taking from these emotions, right? Everything we do or don't do comes from wanting to feel an emotion or avoid feeling an emotion, right? And then in that case, we'll resist it and hide it. So I went through thinking about this process of transformation, like what are the key elements? And, majority of my life, talking about being a self-help junkie, I always thought in my own mind, I'm pretty smart. I'm an intelligent woman. I'm always reading, always learning, and I got this, right? No matter what came my way. I've gone through a lot of difficult moments in my life. I've gone through some very pivotal moments, right? Becoming a single mother. Before that, making the decision to be a single mother. After all of that, losing my child. I've gone through some very big transformations in my life. And through those transformative moments in my life, I honestly felt, and until this day, I honestly just felt like I'm strong. I know what it takes to get through difficult things. I know what it takes to just work hard and get through it, and just keep kind of pushing myself through it, and just trucking along, right? I got this. I was really always tapped into a lot of my masculine energy. So I do a lot of work around feminine energy versus masculine energy. There's necessary to have both, but understanding when and where to use them and how to during certain situations of your life is super important, because a lot of the time while I was using my grit to get through things, I beat myself up a lot, right? I treated myself pretty crappy most of the time in that way. So while you are consuming a lot of things, I totally get it. But it was only after recognizing that all I was doing was fighting and clawing my way through, and not really asking for a whole lot of support. Now, don't get me wrong, I got tons of support through. I had a lot of great supporters in my life, big cheerleaders who helped me, were there for me, but it wasn't the type of help that allowed for my shift to take place. Usually they were on my side and they weren't really always helping me look at things from a different perspective outside of my mom. I think my mom is probably, and my dad, probably the ones that would help me see but are you really doing this in the way that's benefiting you? So let's talk a little bit about these levels of transformation and what they involve. So number one, and the ripple effect of them. So I want to point that out. When you make a permanent shift and you really have transformation in an area of your life, it shows because you've put on a completely different embodiment of a viewing of a specific area of your life, right? In order for somebody to go from being overweight by 100 pounds, and for them to lose that 100 pounds, they had to literally shift their identity of who they are and the crux of everything that they think and believe about eating and their ability to lose the weight and be healthy and all of those things. Everything had to shift, and it had to shift permanently in order for them to have that transformation, which the Google originally said was an extreme and a radical change, right, in form or appearance. So that is in alignment with that, right? So the first part that has to take place is commitment. In order for you to begin the transformation, you have to commit to making a change. First, you have to recognize that there is a change that needs to take place, and then you have to commit to making that change. So commitment is the very first part of that. So what does that look like? I am tired of being comfortable in my discomfort, because shifting and transformation doesn't live in comfort zone, right? We talk about, in order to make changes, we have to be uncomfortable. We have to be comfortable with the discomfort. I want to make one clear point on this, because it seems like it's uncomfortable to make change, but I want you to know deep down inside, you are also feeling discomfort when you don't make the change. So it's very uncomfortable to maybe lose 100 pounds, but it was also very uncomfortable to stay with the excess of the 100 pounds. Does that make sense? Did you guys hear that? No matter what the uncomfortable and the comfortable is, in the moment, it might be comfortable to not be exercising and just eat whatever you want. But every day, all day, for somebody who's struggling with weight loss or health issues, that is constantly on their mind. And the discomfort of what they're feeling about their body shame or their image shame, or their health problems, or they're feeling tired, or it's not allowing them to play with their kids, whatever it is, there's a lot of discomfort that's going on, and they are committed to staying in that discomfort. So the commitment has to be in experience the new discomfort of changing this current one. So it's not just being comfortable, it's changing the discomfort to a different discomfort. I hope that really makes sense for you guys. And I hope that really lands the way that I want it to. So that's the first part of it, right? Because there is no shift in staying in the same uncomfortableness that we're in. So the second part of that is, we're in our discomfort. We notice that there is something better that we want for ourselves, right? So there is a desire. The second part is desire. I desire this other outcome. Now that can happen to you in lots of different ways, right? You may see yourself at an event, and I'll use this example. You might see yourself at an event and you see somebody on stage that looks amazing in this outfit that they're wearing, and you love it and you want to see yourself that way. In order to, now you have a desire to see yourself in this new way, helps you make that commitment to lose the weight or make the change, right? It might be a health issue. So maybe you see yourself in a certain way. You're like, you see this person, they've got great, skin, hair, whatever it is. They look younger, and it moves you to maybe want to quit smoking or quit drinking or doing something else that's hurting your health or your appearance, right? Maybe you want to stop using certain makeup. I don't know, whatever it is. But there's a desire to make that change. Okay. So first, you notice that there is discomfort. You desire something, you make the commitment to move forward and start making changes. And the first thing that will come up is fear, right? You will be instantly faced with the resistance of it, right? So in order to continue through the shift, you have to continue on the commitment. You have to up the level of commitment towards your desire to become greater than the fear of staying in the discomfort. staying in the discomfort of your comfort. Okay. There is feeling comfortable in the discomfort, and there's also discomfort in staying in comfortable. I hope that's really landing for you guys. So you shifting to a greater comfort in the discomfort of making the change and towards what you desire, right? And you're going to be faced with pain and fear of making it, right? You may be having to face your shame. Maybe you have to get real around your blame and your victim mentality. There's a lot of different things, and I can dive deeper into that. And maybe we'll do one that's just strictly on these different levels of transformation in depth. If you go to my website, I will have something in there for you by the end of the week. And that's resultsbydesigncoaching.com. And the next level, after you are in the pain and it gets like you really have to face all of your pain, fear, shame, you make the decision to make that shift. Now, that's when you're listening to all of these different audiobooks and podcasts. When you're consuming that, you make the shift, right? That, yes, I get it intellectually, okay? But here's where people generally stop. And this is where they end up in this conversation that I'm constantly having with my clients and potential clients is I'm exhausted because I feel like I'm always working on myself. They work on themselves up to this point, which is they have decided to make the shift. But the decision in making the shift sometimes ends and stops. It's a hard stop with just consuming and intellectually understanding it. So before I get to the next level, which is surrender, I'm going to share with you why hearing and consuming really great information doesn't shift you. If I am in a coaching consult, if I am in a session, I notice this a lot. I will say something to my client, say something to my girlfriend. You've probably been in this situation. I will talk about something and they will say, yes, I totally get it. That makes so much sense to me. It's so clear to them. I'm like, hey, the reason this is not working for you is because, did you think of this? And the reason it's not working for you is because of XYZ. It's because you're doing ABC still, and what you really need to be doing is XYZ. And that's why, because you're not thinking of it in this way, you're thinking of it still in this way. And they go, oh my gosh, you see the light bulb go on in their brain. And it seems like they may have shifted, right? Because they're like, that makes total sense. I agree. I believe you. That makes sense. Now, it's because they're smart. They're intelligent. They know how to process information. They get it. They're in alignment with it. And the reason that it doesn't shift for them is because it wasn't their thought, it was mine. So even though they heard what I said and they believe it, it's not their thought. So they haven't practiced this thought. And so when they're now in that situation, this thought doesn't automatically show up for them. It automatically shows up for me because it's my thought. It's something I've practiced. It's something I've looked at what was my old pattern of thinking and then have done deep work on that belief system in order for me, myself, to determine what are my new thoughts that I would like to implement into my life instead of these and create a new belief system. It's my old belief system versus my new belief system, not my old belief systems and me just taking on yours. They have to be mine. And I want you to hear that, because when you're listening to all of these great books and these great content through all different avenues, it makes sense and you want it to be yours. But until you either sit down, take notes, figure out how this is applying to you in your life and really apply it to yourself in your own situation, and then make the decision from there, the shift can't happen. So I want to go back now to the next step. The next step, once you realize because you're smart and you're amazing and you have all that wisdom in you. Allow yourself to surrender to that shift. Like, yes, I see that this pattern is not working for me, and I actually really want to shift that paradigm. You have to surrender. Now, that doesn't mean give up. That means you get it, which is what we were just talking about. You get it and you really want it. Now you have to surrender and take a look at those concepts and ideas that you're hearing or learning or listening to or being coached by me or anybody else. Now take it and apply it to yourself and let it become the last step, which is the truth of you, right? That's when the shift becomes permanent and you completely see what's going on. You desire something new. You're presented with your own resistance, with your own fears, with your own shame, or all the things that come up for you. You realize that your desire for the shift is greater than the pain and the discomfort of it. And then you surrender yourself to it and allow it to penetrate you in a way that it becomes your truth of who you are now. We can always change anything from our past. It's a big reason why, I work one-on-one with my clients for 6 months at a time. They have to commit for 6 months with me, but I have started in this past year to incorporate these retreats, because when you step out of your life for a moment, it allows you to be in a completely different environment where you're not surrounded by all the noise of your own current life and all your belief systems that are readily available to you every corner of your house that you turn. It's a perfect environment for you to be very clear in your mind and allow you to dive deep and allow that surrender to take place. And that's where the permanent shift happens, my friends. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I love being on here with you. It's been my go-to place for me to even deepen the shifts for myself. Every time I reiterate what I'm saying, it signals my brain. And that is the key, right? When you do all of the work of consuming and listening to great things, that's so beautiful for you and so important. When you start applying it to yourself, when you start saying it out loud, when you start telling yourself, oh, I want to make this change, I want to allow myself to feel uncomfortable. That's the signals that you keep giving to your subconscious mind to allow it to happen. To allow yourself to surrender is also when your brain stops resisting you as much. That resistance becomes less and less. The confidence becomes more and more, you see? If this is something that you enjoy listening to, come check out Results by Design Coaching and jump on a one-on-one. Have a conversation. If you don't walk away with anything else, just the questions to coming on to a consult with me will give you so much clarity about yourself. Thank you guys. That's what I have for you guys today. I love you so much, and I can't wait to see you again. Thank you for listening to Unpacking Brain Drama podcast. You'll find links for all the things mentioned below in the show notes. And it would be incredibly awesome if you would take a quick moment to leave a review on iTunes or wherever you listen. If you'd like to be considered as a guest on our podcast, be sure to go to www.resultsbydesigncoaching.com for a free 30-minute coaching session. Thanks so much, guys. See you next time.